Well, Sheikh, you've just recently been released from prison after being incarcerated since 2015. Of course, that's when the massacre of the Islamic movement of Nigeria took place. Tell us what actually happened in Zaria that day. And how did you and your wife end up being jailed for 6 years for that event?
Our prosecution has started much earlier than that time. All in all, I have been in prison for a total of 9 years, but at different times. 7 years in the 80s, from 81 to 89. Those 9 years I spent 7 in prison. And also another 2 years and some 3 months in the 90s. Now, during this, in the 90s, or remember in the time of Abacha also, he was the first military leader who opened fire on us. Openly, the soldiers were invited to open fire. And during his administration, he killed about 66 people, confirmed. This time around, in the 20s, they have been making so many attempts. I don't know the number of times. Until in 2014, in Qudus, during Qudus Day, they also carry out, they attack the procession of Qudus Day and kill about 33 people, including my 3 children.
Right.
We are not fighting with guns. We are speaking. We are talking. We are talking sense, And the answer is to fight and kill. So in what happened in Zaria in 2014 was pre-planned crackdown, even though they have no way to justify what they did, except because they are so confused as to say that there was blockage of road. In any case, even if there was any, my house was away from where they allegedly the road was blocked. It was away by about 30 kilometers. A lot of people were killed, students, teachers, trade, and anybody. They burned the house to ashes, and they were surprised that after killing hundreds of people and burning the house, we were still alive. Myself, my wife, and my children, and some few brothers and sisters, were still alive, and they opened fire on us. So 3 of my children were killed before me, and my wife and myself were wounded, terribly wounded. Only Allah knows how what is the wisdom behind his saving us. We were shot severally in a shooting that a human being cannot survive it. After they shot me, I was phoning some people, including some people in the authorities. One of them, I even asked him to send my salam to General Buhari, and said, send my salam to General Buhari. I hope they will do their government very well. Carry on. We will meet in the day of judgment. And I come to understand that Buhari has had that message as well. Also, it was, I have no time to give details, but
how many bullets do you have in your Sheikh?
I wouldn't know, because they have battered my right side, and battered my left hand, and also, as you can see from the pictures, also it affected my face and even the eye. And the pictures show that there are fragments of bullets around my head and neck, and around the head from the cheek up to the head. They counted about 38 fragments. And also my wife has several gunshots on her stomach and her thigh. So but they took us to their hospital, and somehow my wife, they removed all the bullets from her, not some of the bullets, without putting her under anesthesia. Then it was later in another hospital that more bullets were removed. And she still have one complete bullet in her body, which found its place in her pelvic. And they said at that time they could not remove it. The bullets in my body, scattered. So there were some fragments all over the body. There were fragments on my hands, on my thigh, and on my head, up till now. And these fragments also secrete poisons like lead and cadmium. And I'm still living with some amount of those poison in my body, and including the fragments, up till now.
But you're still alive, Sheikh, and your wife is still alive. That's absolutely amazing when we hear that story.
That's the will of Allah, because when they tested the level of lead in my body, at one time it was about 244, which they said the normal human being should contain only 10. And I have 344 on my body. Well, that's the will of God that I'm alive anyway.
Obviously, he definitely has more plans for you. Sheikh, with the situation in dealing with the Zadia massacre, and then you being in jail for 6 years, of course.
Well,
go ahead.
The state government, under the order of the federal government, has instituted a commission of inquiry to look into what happened in Zaria. Mm-hmm. And we were not allowed to present our own side of the story. In fact, when our lawyers wanted to allow them to see me they were keeping me in custody, me, myself, and my wife, they didn't allow them to do so. So they said since they were not allowed to see their client, they could not go and speak on his behalf. Alternatively, they could also come and talk to me in the hospital where they were keeping me. But they went ahead to listen to all submissions minus our own side of the story. Even then, despite the fact they did not listen to our own side of the story, the Commission of Inquiry came with the recommendations that those killed by the army, the compensation should be paid by the federal government. All right? Yes. And the corpses of those who are killed should be delivered to their respective families, because one of the government officials testified that they have buried 347 people in one mass grave.
How many, Sheikh? How many did you say?
The government official said that they have buried 347 people in one of the mass graves. And we know that there were other mass graves. All in all, on our own side, we have names of people and their ages and all every detail of.
How many do you have? What are the numbers that you have?
We have about 700 so far, and but the number is definitely more than 1,000. All right. What I'm trying to say, the Commission of Inquiry gave the recommendation that the federal government should pay compensation for those killed. All right, that's one. Also, the state government should pay compensation for the properties they demolish. All right, including our houses, our Husseinias, our schools, and so on. And these recommendations of the committee were given to Muhammadu Buhari on 7th September 2016, and he promised that anybody found, to has a hand in it will be brought to book, according to him. And then up till now, they said nothing about that. And in December of the same year, 2016, 3rd December to be precise, a federal high court in Abuja ruled that our detention, my wife and myself, our detention was illegal, and that we should be released unconditionally. and that compensation should be paid to us, and a house to live must be given to us in a state of our choice in the northern part of the country. That court ruling was not, implemented.
Yes.
And also they took some, in Zaria they took about 500 people, among most of them wounded, and took them to the prison. Well, only one person happened to pass away in the prison, but the rest of them didn't survive. And then they released most of them. They took 153 of them to the court. They divided them into two courts. One court, they have 77 people. Another court, 76 people. And in July 2018, the High Court in Kaduna, one of the high courts, ruled that those people were discharged and acquitted, and they were not found guilty of any of the offenses they were accused to have committed. And then the court even said that they have the right to seek compensation for their illegal detention. On 28 July this year, 2021, that we were discharged and acquitted and were exonerated of all the 8 charges against us. And in the end of the day, it was found that none of us committed any offense. And then they were ordered to pay compensation for their atrocities, yet nothing happened.
You have not gotten any compensation at all?
No, none at all. And then they kept us, they know that we have health issue, but we are kept with these difficulties, in incarceration for almost 6 years. But alhamdulillah,